Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer with RealTime Fantasy Sports, and welcome to the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. On today's show, I'm going to be joined by Todd Yost. He is the recent winner of our postseason shootout contest here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. Todd won $50,000. I'm going to talk to him about his big win, his strategy, what he might do with the winnings. Just have a really good conversation with Todd and get a feel for how we won that big postseason shootout contest. If you're not familiar, our postseason shootout contest, it's a really fun contest just for the postseason. So you pick 10 players before the start of the season, 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs before the start of the playoffs, I should say. 10 players, 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers or tight ends, 2 flex players, which are running backs, receivers, tight ends, a defense, and a kicker as well. Again, just 10 players, and you can only pick 2 players from one NFL team. So there's a lot of strategy involved here. We're going to talk to Todd about how he won it all. Don't forget to get in this postseason shootout contest next year as well. Chance to win $50,000. So here's my interview with Todd Yost, the winner of this season's postseason shootout at RealTime Fantasy Sports. I'm joined now by Todd Yost, the winner of the postseason fantasy contest on our site. He won $50,000. Todd, congratulations. Thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been quite a ride.
So has it sunk in yet? I mean, $50,000, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it was a little shocking when it happened, but yeah, it's starting to sink in, telling some people, letting people know. And, my brother knows, some other people at work and stuff like that. But yeah, who's going to argue about winning $50,000,
Exactly. So any big plans for the winnings? You got anything you want to do with it?
No, not really. I mean, I do fantasy more for, fun. It is partly for the money, but, you never expect you're going to win that much money. So you really don't have plans for anything that you're going to go super extravagant on. And, I will probably put it in the bank, honestly, or, dump some of it back into the site and try to win more money.
Hopefully
we'll be having this conversation next year when I win the fantasy championship.
That sounds good to me. Yeah. So had you played in this contest before? And if so, have you done well in the past?
Yeah, I've been on you guys' site for, since about 2016. And, I've finished in the top 50 once or twice, I think, in the past. Cashed. I usually cash at least 1 or 2 teams in it. This year, I just happened to cash the best one.
There you go. So let's talk strategy for the contest. Sure. I thought your roster build was kind of interesting because the first week you did not have a QB. You had Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. I'm going to bring this up so everybody can see it. But your roster is Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Christian McCaffrey, Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, Travis Kelce, Robbie Gould, and the Buffalo Bills defense. So what was your thought process with that build there?
Well, I'm a guy who likes quarterbacks, so my strategy, I kind of build around quarterbacks. So I had multiple teams in the shootout, so I was trying to spread it around a little bit. I'm sure everybody's strategies, you want to have a guy that goes all the way, or you're going to get at least 3 games out of. So, I was thinking that Hurts and Mahomes were going to end up in the Super Bowl, so I wasn't really worried about the first week. I mean, a lot of those guys I ruled out right away. Josh Allen, some of those other guys I had on other teams that I thought might go farther. Had a few Brock Purdy's that kind of let me down, but I knew Hurts and Mahomes would probably make it to at least the AFC Championship game, if not the whole way. So I wasn't really worried about points first week.
And I got to ask you too. You kind of did what I did as well, because I took Devonta Smith over AJ Brown in a lot of my leagues, and you did that as well. Do you think that was a winning strategy for you? You probably had
absolutely. I mean, that was honestly the key difference when I looked. After the first couple of weeks going into the Super Bowl, I looked at everybody above me, and he was the difference. Like, no one above me had Devonta Smith. A lot of guys had similar guys that I had. Kelce, Mahomes, guys you would think they had, and I kind of knew it was going to come down to who had the better game of Devonta Smith or AJ Brown. And I think, me personally, I'm more of I think they're both great receivers, but I like Devonta Smith more. I think he runs out of the slot more. You know what I mean? He gets more slot stuff, and I think especially with Hurts and his arm issues and stuff that he had going on, I thought he was probably a better bet to at least receptions, yards, that kind of thing. Touchdowns are so random. You never know who's going to do that. So, I mean, that was my strategy going with him. But again, I had AJ Brown on several teams. They just, didn't have the quarterbacks and running backs and everybody else I had on. So
Yeah. So to me, when I look at your score overall, you scored 178.15 points in week 2. That at that point, you had to be thinking you got a little bit of a chance there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I knew, well, again, like I said, I wasn't too worried about week 1 because I knew I wasn't going to score much because I had no quarterbacks and, no Kelsey, no Devontae Smith. So I only had 6 guys going, so I wasn't too concerned. But yeah, I scored pretty well, and I thought it actually wasn't my highest scoring team going into the, the championship, the final Super Bowl week. I had another team that was in 34th, and that team, the team I actually won with was 106. So, I thought I had a chance with that team. I knew I had a better chance probably than the team that was 34 because, I had Devontae Smith and Hurts going on that team. And, the other team I had the Eagles D and somebody else going, or AJ Brown. So I figured I was going to score more points with that team. But yeah, honestly, I was down 40, I think, from the guy from first going into the Super Bowl. And I didn't think I would probably get that far. I knew he had the Eagles and Elliott were the two, uncommon denominators that we had. So I knew Hurts and Devontae Smith had to outscore Elliott and the Eagles D. And, it kind of was a perfect storm. The Eagles D didn't score a point, and Elliott, had a couple field goals, but Hurts went off and Devontae Smith went off, and that's kind of all she wrote. Everybody else.
I got to ask, how were you watching that game? So you had to see that you were moving up. Were you? I mean, that had to be rough.
Weird. I was out at a private party, and I was with some friends, and we were watching. After those first 2 drives, between Kelsey scoring, from Mahomes, and Hurts ran for the touchdown, and Devontae Smith had a bunch of catches. I went from I think 106 to like 16th. And, by halftime, I was up to, I think, 6th. And I was like, okay, I got a chance to do pretty well here. I don't know if I'm going to win because there were still guys that, ahead of me that, anything happened. But, once I think I got to second about midway through the second half. And then after the Devontae Smith long pass right towards the end of the game there, when the Eagles scored their last touchdown, I went into first. And then it was just kind of am I going to be able to hang on to this for the last 4 minutes, kind of praying that Mahomes was going to keep the ball and not give the Eagles anything back because I didn't want AJ. The only guys that could have called me were the guys who had AJ Brown. So yeah, it just worked out.
So I got to ask too, are you an Eagles fan? You're from up in that area a little bit? Oh, you got a Cowboys hat on. There you go. Okay.
It was the perfect storm, Jeff. I was trying, but I also wanted the Eagles to lose. So I was rooting for Hurts and Devontae Smith to do well. It goes against, in my gut as a Cowboys fan to do that. And I was with tons of Eagles fans at this party. So they were all, going crazy. But I was like, this can't be the perfect storm where I actually win this and the Eagles lose, can it? I mean, and that's exactly what happened.
That's crazy. I mean, everything that could have went right for you there. Unbelievable.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what did people at the party know what was going on with you at that point? Did you let anybody know?
Yeah, they did it after a little while. I told my buddy, like I said, he was sitting next to me, and then he started going around and like whispering in people's ears and telling them. So then it kind of became like a double, people are watching the game and hoping to see what goes on there, but they're also watching me because I was kind of biting a hole in my lip sitting at the bar, the last 4 minutes waiting to see what happened. So, and then, yeah, it was pretty satisfying, honestly, the whole thing. Everybody was congratulating me, of course. And like I said, it was pretty crazy.
I bet. Again, big congratulations, Todd. That's awesome. Really appreciate you taking the time to join me today, and good luck to you and all your future leagues going forward as well.
Yeah, got to get back off. I got a bunch of baseball drafting right now.
Nice. Like to hear that. Like to hear that. Well, I'll have to have you on again sometime, and we'll talk strategy for the season. I know you're in a lot of leagues that do well on our site. So I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Thanks. And that was my interview with Todd Yost, the winner of this year's Postseason Fantasy Shootout contest here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. Big congratulations to Todd once again. I want to thank him for doing a great job on the interview as well. It's a lot of fun to talk to him. Hopefully we can talk to him again sometime soon and get some strategy either for fantasy baseball or fantasy football with Todd. Again, really enjoyed talking with him today. And I hope you enjoyed the show. This has been Jeff Paur with RealTime Fantasy Sports. Have a great day, everyone.